Happy Sunday, webheads! Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer, bringing you an episode of More Than Meets the Page, the video series where I talk about the entire Energon universe. If you're not sure what the Energon universe is, why don't you check out this preview video from Skybound. Alright, so there was a little preview from Skybound. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You got a little bit of a taste and get you a little pumped up, right? So, if you guys love this type of thing, if you love daily comic book content, if you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, I think you came to the right place. Why don't you consider hitting the subscribe button, as I will be covering this whole Energon thing. Now, let's get people caught up on what this Energon universe is, how it get kicked off, right? And the first thing, if you've never read it before and if you've been on the fence, it started off with Void Rivals. Void Rivals is about two characters that were stuck on a moon, and they come from different sides of the moon, different races, and they were forced to work together to escape this moon. How does this tie into the Energon universe? Well, it ties in because you wind up seeing a specific transformer that shows up, okay? Now, I'm pretty sure all of us know what transformers are, right? Whether you've seen it in the movie or in the old school cartoons or whatnot, so I'm pretty sure we all heard of a transformer. But you realize for the first time that Void Rivals was kicking off, the Transformer universe and their Skybound titles, right? So we wind up getting to see Jetfire for the first time in this comic, and you're like, what? So Transformers is going to be connected to Image, and that's how they kicked everything off? And as a reader for the first time, you are blown away. Now, right now, when it comes to Void Rivals, that series is taking a break. We wind up seeing different types of Autobots in this series as it's gone along. Not Autobots, but Transformers. We've seen Shockwave. We've seen a couple other different types of Transformers as it's gone along, and our two heroes are still forced to work together. What's good about this is that it doesn't rely on Transformers to sell its book. It's a great story in its own self, seeing how these two work together to go against all odds, okay? But this was the story that definitely kicked off the universe here. So now we go on to Transformers issue 1, okay? So this one is done by Daniel Warren Johnson. If you guys have never heard of his stuff before, well, this is a good time to jump on, because I feel like this book is very well written. It's drawn really nice as well. It's explosive action all over the place. But if there's other reads that you might want to check out from him, check out Do a Powerbomb, that was last year. Murder Falcon, he did the Jurassic League as well. So great stuff here, great artwork when it comes to, again, his style, okay? It's always very explosive. Now, this book goes back to the time when the Transformers crash landed on Earth, and we wind up getting to see Decepticons and Autobots do battle against each other. What this book does really well in general is it doesn't overwhelm you with a whole bunch of characters and you're forced to learn these characters. It introduces you to a few characters at a time. You get to learn the war power of the Autobots and the Decepticons, and you wind up finding out that, traditional characters that are in the Transformers series in the past are not in this book, which is a nice little twist. We've get to see human companions as well when it comes to Spike and Carly, maybe some Transformer favorites like Soundwave and Starscream. Again, this is very explosive and in your face, but just because these are robots doesn't mean there's any emotion in this comic book. There's definitely lots of emotion at this point in time, and by the time you wind up getting to the end of issue 3, you're left wondering, going, oh my god, if or is a particular Transformer ever going to come back? And that particular Transformer would be Megatron, right? Starscream is the one that's currently in charge of the Decepticons, and we get to see after these first 3 issues just how much of an asshole Starscream is. He'll do anything that it takes to survive, while the Autobots are completely opposite, as they brought their war to Earth and they're willing to give their own lives in order for humans to survive. So really great book. I definitely recommend Transformers. I don't even think you have to be a Transformer fan to understand what goes on in this series. That's how well Daniel Warren Johnson really writes this series, okay? And like I said, there is definitely differences in this comic series from traditional Transformer comic books. All right, then the next thing we wound up getting introduced to was Duke. This was issue 1. So if you are a fan of not Transformers, but if you're a fan of G.I. Joe, this book is a little bit different than what you're going to expect from Duke. This is the early time of Duke when maybe he was first getting into G.I. Joe. We get to see the beginning workings of Cobra, and we get introduced to Destro for the first time in the comic. And what happens that sets Duke on his particular mission is what we see in the Transformers comic. I think it was issue 2, where he was flying in his jet fighter and he comes across Starscream, and a particular peer of his winds up getting killed in the heat of battle against the Decepticons. And Duke is actually suffering from a PTSD from this, and he is, forced to take some time off, but he does go on this secret mission. And like I said, he goes and he discovers, again, the early inklings of Cobra here. So this was definitely a great first issue, and that's how this all ties in to the whole Energon universe. Now, whether this leads to the G.I. Joes or the Joes working with Autobots is still yet to be determined, but really, really great stuff here. Okay, and then the most recent series that came out this particular comic book week was Cobra Commander. This is issue 1, another phenomenal read here. So Cobra Commander is a great villain. Sometimes he's a coward, right? But he'll do whatever it takes to try to take over the world. And what this book does is this goes into the early beginnings of Cobra Commander, on where he came from. And he's definitely come from a different race by the name of Cobra La. Okay, he was a scientist, he was in a horrific accident, and his leaders winds up sending him out to become part of Cobra, the terrorist organization determined to rule the world. Okay, now in all these years, Cobra has had a hidden secret, and again, this is a spoiler, that he's been keeping from his people. And if you've read the Transformers series, okay, and you're wondering where Megatron has been, well, Megatron has been in the hands of Cobra Commander. So this is led to believe that Cobra Commander is doing research on the Autobots, on the Transformers, their war in general, and will the will Cobra actually work together with the Decepticons, or will Cobra Commander just work with Megatron? That's still yet to be determined, but that's how this opening issue kicked off when it came to Cobra Commander, and that's how everything has tied in together when it's come to G.I. Joe, Duke, freaking Transformers, Void Rivals. Like, that's how all this stuff ties together. The story has been brilliant. You can tell that Kirkman and Daniel Warren Johnson, Joshua Williamson has been in complete connection with each other to make this story tie in really nice and bring this universe to life and get people excited about comics again. So overall, when you look at this entire crossover series in general, every single book here is awesome. Overall, it's an A+ from me. If you've been on the fence about checking this out, I definitely say check it out for sure. You will not be disappointed. It's a great overall story. I don't think you have to totally read everything that's going on, but if you want, you know, if you want the overall grand scheme, the whole experience here, I think these 4 titles are a must, okay? Now, Cobra Commander and Duke, I think, are 4-issue miniseries, while Void Rivals and Transformers are always ongoing. So definitely, guys, check this out if you haven't yet. And I want to know in the comments below, what are you guys thinking of the Energon universe? Has it lived up to the hype yet? Is it overhyped? Let me know all that stuff below. And if you love my content, I'll leave you more content right here for you to check out. And of course, guys, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read those comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye.